Hello and welcome back to my channel. I have been waiting to make this video for a year, and it again will only be interesting to a few of you, but if you've been following me on my path to become a CFP, I have finally finished the last course and passed the last exam to fulfill my core curriculum requirements to move on to the CFP. Very exciting. And so what that course was the Law, Estate, and Tax Supplement. Let's. And if you remember, I feel like the last video I made about this, I did this other supplemental course called, let me find out. What was it called? I don't know. Let me look on my own YouTube channel. It was called the Lending, Retirement, and Insurance Supplement, LRIS. And then I also did the FP Canada's Intro to Ethics course, which is a requirement if you're going to do the QAFP or CFP. So I did that. But I was fully ready to just hop into this other supplemental course for the CFP last year. It literally was this time last year. But then I got a book deal, and then that kind of got pushed aside because all of my mental capacity had to be focused on writing a book for the first time, which was a very intimidating thing. Well, the book is not out yet. It is written. The manuscript is, being edited. It is happening, but it doesn't come out until January. But right now, this moment, the reason I had time to actually study and take this exam was it is with my copy editor. So they're going through it line by line to fix all of my terrible mistakes, I'm sure. But basically, I got a few weeks that I didn't have to do any book stuff. And so I'm like, okay, this is the moment. I need to jump on it. And so I studied, and if you don't know, I printed this. So the supplemental courses through the CSI, they only come in a digital format. So, all the other ones like the Canadian Securities course, FP1, FP2, they give you a lovely textbook. For the other supplemental courses, they give you nothing besides PDFs. And I'm sorry, I can't read this in a PDF form. I can't do it. So I literally just printed it with staples and made my own little textbook because I just got so used to doing old school studying with highlighters and, flipping a page. I needed it to be like that. And also too, this should be a textbook. They should provide you a textbook for that, but whatever. So to give you a sense on how long it took me, honestly, a few days. And that's because I literally just gave myself about 3 full days, didn't do anything besides studying. And it wasn't that hard because I think, I mean, at this point, you've gone through all these other courses that are a lot more, there's just a lot to remember. It was only 7 chapters. And so, honestly, if you can't take full days off and you're still working and you're busy and you got a life, you can probably do a chapter a day, do it in 7 days, maybe give yourself another day just to kind of review some things, which I'll talk about in a second, and then take the exam. You also get a few attempts to the exam. The scary thing, or not the scary thing, but it was intense was the exam for this. It's, online, it's not proctored, but you can do it whenever you want, literally. And it's only 30 questions. And I did not like that because there's not much room for error, and you have to get at least 60% to pass. So that is why it actually really is important to make sure that you do understand everything, you have studied it, it is in your brain, and you know your stuff, because 30 questions really doesn't give you much wiggle room to mess up. Now, in terms of what's on the exam, obviously I cannot tell you specifically what's on the exam because I do not want to get in trouble or get sued. But what I can tell you are some particular things to really focus on. There were quite a few questions about small business structures, like, sole proprietor versus partnership versus corporation, and the different types of partnerships and things like that. So definitely review that section. It was actually really easy for me because I'm like, hey, I've made so many videos about these types of things. So that was really nice that there's oh, I know this, no problem. There were also, there's some parts, I feel like sometimes in some of the textbooks for these CSI courses, there's sections about farming and you're like, I don't care. I'm probably never going to work with a client who is in farming. I live in Toronto, it's unlikely. But hey, guess what? Some of that stuff is on the exam. So you definitely want to review the sections about farming and restricted farm loss and that kind of information. There are some formulas you need to remember. So check them out. Also, reminder, when you are going through the textbook, make sure to do all of the practice quizzes in the online portal after to get a sense of what could be on the exam. I don't think there's never any like, oh yeah, that was on the exam, that was in the practice quiz, never. But there's some similar things for sure. So make sure to do all of those practice quizzes. They were actually really, really helpful. I definitely remember there were some things about the RCA's, retirement compensation arrangements, which again is something that you may not feel like, oh, this is never going to come up. Rarely. No one talks about RCA's, I don't know, day to day. You're going to want to review that section. That's a really important thing. There also will be some questions about defined benefit pension plans and buybacks, commuted values. That section's really important to review. And also, I found it actually really interesting because I feel like in the past courses through the CSI, we didn't go, we went in depth, but I feel like there was new information in this supplemental course. So I thought that was actually really interesting. Now, there were some things about estate planning, especially in terms of, I think, corporations maybe and charitable donations. And then definitely if someone wants to exit the corporation or a partnership or something like that. So definitely review the section that's about business structures and estate planning. That definitely comes up. And I feel like there were actually quite a few estate planning questions. So just make sure you're really familiar with all of that kind of stuff. So just to, remind you what is on this exam. So there's, again, 7 chapters. One's about insurance. I think there's a few questions on that. I found that the easiest chapter, quite honestly, but it could be just because we went through it a lot in some of the other CSI courses. Then there's chapter 2, family law and estate planning. Go through that. Business law, definitely go through that chapter. That stuff really does come up. Taxation for individuals. I don't remember there being too much info about that, except for the farming expenses and losses and stuff. That was a really important thing to remember. Then I think there were some questions related to undepreciated cost of capital, UCC. So familiarize yourself with that. Let's see what else was important. Corporate tax, go through that. That actually was a pretty easy section to get through, not too intense. U.S. taxation for Canadian residents. Yeah, I don't remember much on that, if anything. Again, there's only 30 questions. They can't fit everything in there. And then registered retirement plans. All about pensions is the last chapter. There were some really important things about that, but it is probably, I'd say, one of the easiest exams to pass because, again, it's not a really intense textbook, only 7 chapters. And, again, it's online. You can really, there's less pressure because there isn't that, proctor looking at you. I always feel like that just makes things a little bit more difficult. So if you have any more questions, I'll try my best to answer in the comments. But what's exciting for me is passing this exam means that I have finally finished all of my, core curriculum requirements for the CFP. And I've made the decision to first do my QAFP and then bridge over to my CFP. It just gives me a little bit more time. And honestly, I would love to be able to get my QAFP this year in 2024. And I feel like I could possibly do it. I mean, it may be a bit ambitious because I do have some book promo to do in the fall that might be really intense, but there is an October exam. And so I have signed up for the professional education program for the QAFP through FB Canada. So that's something that you now have to do first before you can do the QAFP exam. They changed that recently in 2024 before you could take the QAFP exam and then do the program. Now you have to do it first. So that's really annoying. So I will definitely make a video about the program once I have started and finished it. I haven't even gotten my login or anything like that. So that is the update on my journey to eventually become a CFP. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful because I could not find anything online beside a few. No, I don't think I can even find anything on Reddit about this supplemental course, but hopefully this has helped you a little bit. But again, if you have questions, leave them in the comments. And with that, thanks for watching. See you next time.